The gun felt heavier than I expected. Cold. Final. I sat in my car outside Marcus Chen's house at 11:47 p.m., watching the lights in his bedroom window. In 13 minutes, he'd be dead. In 30 minutes, I'd disappear into the night. By morning, the man who destroyed my family would be gone, and justice, real justice, would finally be served. I'd planned everything perfectly. The untraceable weapon, the alibi, the escape route. I'd spent 6 months preparing for this moment. 6 months since the day the jury let him walk free. 6 months since they said there wasn't enough evidence to convict the man who killed my daughter. My hand was on the door handle. My finger would soon be on the trigger. But then my phone rang. That call, that one simple phone call at 11:58 p.m., saved 2 lives that night. Marcus Chen's and my own. My name is David Morrison. I'm a high school teacher, a father, a widower, and I came within 10 minutes of becoming a murderer. This is the story of the worst night of my life, and how it became the night that saved me. I need to go back. Back before that night in the car. Back to when my life made sense. 18 months ago, I had everything. My name is David Morrison. I'm 42 years old, or I was when this story began. I taught AP English at Riverside High School in Portland, Oregon. I've been teaching for 15 years, and I loved it. Genuinely loved it. Watching kids discover Steinbeck or Toni Morrison for the first time, seeing their eyes light up when they understood metaphor or symbolism. That was my passion. But my real life, my real joy, was at home. Sarah, my wife of 17 years, was a pediatric nurse. She had this way of making everyone feel safe, feel seen. Kids loved her. I loved her. We met in college. She was pre-med, I was studying literature. Everyone said we were too different, but that's what made us work. She grounded me. I made her laugh. And then there was Emma. God, Emma. Our daughter. 15 years old. Sophomore at Riverside, though I tried not to embarrass her by being the teacher dad. She had Sarah's compassion and my love of words. She wrote poetry, beautiful, raw, honest poetry that made me cry when I read in secret, though I'd never tell her that because teenagers hate when parents get emotional. She wanted to be a journalist, wanted to tell stories that mattered, shine light on injustice, give voice to the voiceless. She was going to change the world. That's what I thought. Anyway, on March 15th, 18 months ago, the last normal day of my life. It was a Friday. Emma had debate team practice after school. Sarah was working a double shift at the hospital. There was a flu outbreak, and they were short-staffed. I'd offered to pick Emma up at 6:30 p.m. I remember grading papers in my classroom, half watching the clock. At 6:15, my phone rang. Emma's number. Hey, sweetie. I'm leaving now. Dad. Her voice was wrong. Tight. Scared. Dad, there's a car following me. My blood went cold. What? Where are you? I decided to walk home. It's only like 20 minutes, and it's still light out. But this black SUV has been behind me for 3 blocks. He's going really slow. Emma, listen to me. Walk to a public place. A store, a restaurant, anywhere with people. I'm on Riverside Drive. There's nothing here. Just houses. Then knock on someone's door. Right now. Any house. Dad, he's pulling over. He's getting out of the car. Emma. Dad, The line went dead. I ran. Grabbed my keys, my phone, ran to my car. Called 911 as I drove, breaking every traffic law, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the wheel. My daughter, someone's following her, Riverside Drive. Please, you have to send someone. The operator's voice was calm, professional. Units were being dispatched. Stay on the line. What was my daughter wearing? Blue jacket. Jeans. Backpack with pins all over it. Hamilton, feminism slogans, book quotes. I was 5 minutes from Riverside Drive. For minutes. 3. I saw the flashing lights before I saw anything else. Police cars. An ambulance. No. 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 I abandoned my car in the middle of the street and ran. An officer tried to stop me. Sir, you can't. That's my daughter. She was on the ground. Paramedics around her. So much blood. I fell to my knees beside her. Emma. Baby. I'm here. Daddy's here. Her eyes found mine. She tried to smile. Dad. I tried to run. You're going to be okay. You hear me? You're going to be fine. Tell Mom. Tell her I love. You'll tell her yourself. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. But she wasn't fine. She died in the ambulance, holding my hand, before we even reached the hospital. The man who'd followed her, who'd grabbed her, who'd stabbed her 7 times when she fought back, he drove away. Disappeared. Left my daughter bleeding out on the sidewalk like she was nothing. Like her life meant nothing. The funeral was on a Wednesday. Closed casket because I couldn't bear the thought of people seeing her like that. Seeing what he'd done to her. Sarah didn't cry. Not at the funeral. Not at the reception afterward. She just sat there, hollow, empty, like someone had scooped out everything inside her and left behind shell. I held it together. I had to. For Sarah. For Emma's friends who came by, devastated. For my students who sent flowers and cards. But at night, alone, I screamed into pillows until my throat bled. The police worked the case. They had a description of the SUV. They had Emma's phone, which had GPS data. They had witnesses who'd seen a black SUV in the area. 3 weeks later, they arrested Marcus Chen, 34 years old, insurance salesman, no prior record, married with 2 kids, living a normal life while my daughter was dead. The evidence was circumstantial. That's what the prosecutor told us. They had him in the area. They had the SUV, black Escalade, like witnesses described. But no DNA, no fingerprints, no murder weapon. Emma had fought back. We knew that from her injuries. But she hadn't gotten any DNA under her fingernails. Hadn't scratched him. The knife was never found. We have a strong case, the prosecutor assured us. The GPS data puts him there. The timeline matches. We'll get justice for Emma. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I sat in that courtroom every single day, staring at Marcus Chen, watching him in his expensive suit, his lawyer beside him, his wife crying in the gallery behind him. His wife got to cry for him. My wife had forgotten how to cry at all. The defense tore apart every piece of evidence. The GPS data? Circumstantial. He was in the area, sure, but so were hundreds of other people. The SUV? Thousands of black Escalades in Portland. The timeline? Close, but not exact. Reasonable doubt, his lawyer kept saying. The prosecution hasn't proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Marcus Chen committed this crime. I wanted to scream, to stand up and tell the jury about Emma, about her poetry, about her dreams, about how she'd texted me an hour before she died, asking if we could get Thai food for dinner because it was Friday and Friday was Thai food night. But that wasn't evidence. That was just a father's broken heart. On day 18 of the trial, the jury came back. Not guilty. Not guilty. The courtroom erupted. I heard Sarah make a sound I'd never heard before. Something between a scream and a sob and a death rattle. Marcus Chen hugged his lawyer, hugged his wife, walked out of that courtroom a free man. And I understood, in that moment, that the justice system had failed us. That Emma would never get justice. That her killer was going to go home, tuck his kids into bed, and sleep peacefully while my daughter was in the ground. That's when something inside me. Sarah left me 2 months after the trial. Not dramatically, not with yelling or blame. She just left. I came home from school one day and found a note on the kitchen table. David, I can't do this anymore. I can't live in this house where Emma grew up. I can't see you and remember what we lost. I can't breathe here. I'm staying with my sister in Seattle. I need space. I need to figure out how to keep living. I'm sorry. Sarah, I called her. She didn't answer. I called her sister. She told me gently that Sarah needed time, that she wasn't doing well, that maybe we should give her some space. I wanted to be angry, to demand she come home, to tell her we should grieve together, not apart. But I understood, because I couldn't breathe in that house either. Couldn't walk past Emma's room without breaking down. Couldn't sit at the dinner table where she used to do homework and argue with me about whether Shakespeare was overrated. I took a leave of absence from school, told them I needed time. They were understanding, compassionate, offered me as much time as I needed. I spent my days in a fog, stopped showering regularly, stopped eating real meals, lived on coffee and whatever I could microwave. And I thought about Marcus Chen, constantly, obsessively. I found his Facebook page, watched him post photos of his kids at soccer games, his wife's birthday dinner, a family vacation to Disneyland. He was living his life, happy, free, unpunished, while Emma was dead, while Sarah was gone, while I was drowning. I started following him. I didn't plan to. It just happened. I drove by his house one day, just to see where he lived. A nice suburban neighborhood. Good schools. Tree-lined streets. The kind of place where 15-year-old girls should be safe walking home. The next day, I drove by again. And again. And then I started parking down the street, watching, learning his routine. He left for work at 7:45 a.m. every morning. Kissed his wife goodbye on the doorstep. Drove his black Escalade, the same fucking SUV, to his office downtown. He had lunch at the same deli every Tuesday and Thursday. He picked his kids up from school on Wednesdays. He played basketball at the gym on Saturday mornings. I knew his entire life, and I hated him more with every detail I learned. This man, this murderer who'd escaped justice, had everything, while I had nothing. My brother Jake came to visit in month 4. He found me in Emma's room, sitting on her bed, reading her poetry journals for the 100th time. David. His voice was gentle. You can't keep doing this. Doing what? This. Living in the past. You need help, man. Professional help. I'm Phoenix. You're not fine. You look like hell. When's the last time you showered? Ate a real meal? I don't know. What does it matter? Jake sat beside me. It matters because Emma wouldn't want this. She'd want you to live. To heal. Don't. I stood up, anger flooding through me. Don't tell me what Emma would want. Emma wanted to live. She wanted to go to college and become a journalist and change the world. She wanted to grow up, and she can't, because Marcus Chen took that from her. I know, and he's out there right now, living his life, playing with his kids like nothing happened. Like my daughter's life meant nothing. The justice system failed. I was shouting now. The justice system failed. He killed her, Jake. I know he did. You know he did. Everyone knows he did. But he got away with it because of reasonable doubt and expensive lawyers and a broken system that protects killers. Jake looked at me with so much pity it made me sick. What do you want me to say, David? I don't want you to say anything. I want you to leave. I'm worried about you. Get out. He left. And I was alone again. Alone with my rage. My grief. My absolute certainty that if the justice system wouldn't punish Marcus Chen, then I would. I started planning seriously in month 5. Research. Careful, methodical research. How to buy an untraceable gun. How to create an alibi. How to avoid forensic evidence. How to disappear afterward. I used incognito browsers. VPNs, burner phones. I wasn't stupid. I was an English teacher, sure, but I read crime novels. I watched true crime documentaries. I knew how people got caught. I wouldn't get caught. I found a gun dealer through. I'm not proud of this, the dark web. It took weeks of figuring out cryptocurrency and encrypted messaging, but I managed it. I bought a 9mm handgun. Untraceable. No serial number. Paid in Bitcoin that couldn't be tracked back to me. I practiced at an outdoor range 2 hours away, using a fake name. Got comfortable with the weight, the recoil, the mechanics. I planned it for a Friday night. Same day of the week, Emma died. Poetic justice, I thought. I'd park 3 blocks away. Walk to his house. He always got home from his Friday poker night at 11:55 p.m. His wife and kids would be asleep. I'd wait in the backyard. When he came in through the back door, his habit, I'd learned, so he wouldn't wake the kids or the front door. I'd be there. 2 shots. Center mass. Quick. Clean. Then I'd walk back to my car. Drive to a storage unit I'd rented under a fake name. Change clothes. Burn everything. The gun would go in the river, weighted down. By morning, I'd be in Montana. I'd rented a cabin there, also under a fake name, paid in cash. I'd wait it out, see if the police connected it to me. If they did, I'd disappear into Canada. If they didn't, I'd eventually come back, grieve publicly, and no one would ever know. Perfect plan. Friday, September 13th. I woke up that morning knowing it was the day. The day I would finally make things right. The day Marcus Chen would face real justice. I felt calm, eerily calm, like I've been holding my breath for months and could finally exhale. I went through my normal routine. Showered, made coffee, even ate breakfast, scrambled eggs like I was a person who still cared about nutrition. I thought about Emma all day. Her laugh, her terrible puns, the way she'd argue with me about homework, insisting she didn't have any, and then I'd find her up at midnight finishing an essay. I'm doing this for you. I whispered to her photo on my desk. He took you from me. He doesn't get to just walk away. The day passed in slow motion. I checked my plan 100 times. Made sure I had everything. The gun, cleaned and loaded. Dark clothes. Gloves. The fake ID for the Montana cabin. At 10:30 p.m., I got in my car. At 10:47 p.m., I parked 3 blocks from Marcus Chen's house. At 11:15 p.m., I walked through the wooded area behind his house and positioned myself in the shadows of his backyard. His house was quiet. Lights off except for a dim glow upstairs. Probably his wife reading in bed while she waited for him. I checked my watch. 11:35 p.m. 20 minutes. My phone was off, tucked in my pocket. I couldn't risk it ringing, buzzing, giving me away. I stood in the shadows and waited. 11:40 p.m. I pulled the gun from my jacket. It felt different now. Not like it had at the range. Heavier. More real. I thought about Emma. About Sarah. About the jury saying not guilty while my daughter's killer walked free. 11:45 p.m. 15 minutes. A car drove by on the street. Not him. Too early. My heart was pounding. Hands sweating inside the gloves. 11:50 p.m. Any minute now. Any minute, Marcus Chen would pull into his driveway, walk through his back door, and my pocket vibrated. No, 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 no. I turned my phone off. I'd specifically turn it off. I pulled it out. It wasn't off. It was on, and someone was calling. The screen glowed in the darkness. Sarah. Sarah, my wife, who hadn't called me in 4 months, who'd left me, who'd needed space. She was calling me at 11:51 p.m. I stood frozen. If I answered, I'd miss my window. Marcus would come home. I'd be on the phone. The moment would pass. But it was Sarah. I answered. Hello. David. Her voice was thick, slurred, drunk. Sarah never drank. David, I need to tell you something. Sarah, this isn't a good time. I tried to kill myself tonight. The world stopped. What? Pills. I took a whole bottle of pills. But then I got scared, and I called 911. I'm at the hospital now, and they pumped my stomach, and I'm okay, but David, I almost died. I almost left you completely alone. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know I left you. I know I abandoned you when you needed me. But I couldn't figure out how to live in a world without her. How to keep breathing when she can't. How to... She was crying now. Deep, broken sobs. I'm in Seattle, I said automatically. I'm in Portland. I can be there in 3 hours. No, that's not why I'm calling. I'm calling because before I took the pills, I wrote you a letter. And in it, I told you that losing Emma broke me. But losing you too would destroy me. And then I realized I was about to do the same thing to you. Leave you completely alone. And I couldn't. I couldn't do that. 11:54 p.m. 1 minute until Marcus Chen came home. Sarah, I need you, David. I know I left. I know I said I needed space. But I need you. And I think you need me too. I think we're supposed to grieve together. To figure out how to survive this together. Headlights swept across the backyard. Marcus Chen's Escalade pulling into the driveway. This was it. My moment. My chance. Sarah kept talking. Will you come to Seattle? Will you try? With me? To figure out how to keep living. Marcus Chen's car door opened. Closed. Footsteps on the driveway. 11:55 p.m. I looked at the gun in my hand. At the back door, where Marcus would appear any second. I thought about Emma. About justice. About making him pay. But I also thought about Sarah. In a hospital bed. Alone. Having just tried to end her life. If I did this, if I pulled this trigger, I couldn't go to her. I'd be running to Montana. Hiding. Alone. Or I'd be in prison. Either way, Sarah would be alone. Just like she tried to prevent. Just like she called to tell me she couldn't bear. David. Sarah's voice was small, broken. Are you there? Marcus Chen's footsteps were getting closer. The back door was 15 feet away. 10 feet. 5 feet. I had seconds to decide. Emma's face flashed in my mind. But so did Sarah's. Sarah, who'd loved Emma as much as I did. Who'd carried her for 9 months. Who'd stayed up all night with her when she was sick. Who'd taught her to braid her hair and drive a car and stand up for herself. Sarah, who was alive. Who needed me. who'd almost died tonight because the grief was too heavy to carry alone. The back door handle turned. Yes, I whispered into the phone. Yes, Sarah, I'm here. I'll come to Seattle. I'll try. Thank you, she sobbed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Marcus Chen walked into his house, 20 feet from where I stood in the shadows. He never knew I was there. He never knew how close he came to dying that night. I stood in his backyard for 5 more minutes after the door closed, the gun still in my hand, tears streaming down my face. Then I walked back through the woods, back to my car, back to my life. I didn't go to Montana. I drove to Seattle. I arrived at the hospital at 3:47 a.m. Sarah was in a private room, and in her arm, her face pale and exhausted. When she saw me, she started crying again. I held her. We didn't speak. We just held each other and cried for our daughter, for our marriage, for everything we'd lost and everything we'd almost lost. I almost did something terrible tonight, I whispered into her hair. Me too, she whispered back. We stayed like that until the sun came up. Sarah was released 2 days later with a referral to a psychiatrist and a prescription for antidepressants. We checked into a hotel in Seattle. Neither of us could bear to go back to her sister's place or to our house in Portland. We just existed together, ordered room service, watched mindless TV, held hands. On day 3, Sarah asked, "What terrible thing did you almost do?" I'd been waiting for that question, dreading it. I told her everything. The planning, the gun, standing in Marcus Chen's backyard, being 10 minutes, no, 5 minutes, 2 minutes away from pulling the trigger. I expected her to be horrified, disgusted, to leave me again, this time for good. Instead, she said, "I understand." You what? I understand. I've thought about it too. Killing him, making him pay. I haven't planned it like you did, but I've thought about it, fantasized about it. Sarah, but you didn't do it. That's what matters. You didn't do it, only because you called. If you hadn't, but I did, and you answered, and you chose me. You chose us. She took my hand. David, we can't bring Emma back. We can't undo what happened, but we can choose to keep living. Together. I don't know how, neither do I, but maybe we figure out together. We started therapy, both individual and couples counseling. My therapist, Dr. Amanda Liu, was patient and kind and didn't judge me when I told her about that night. You experienced a trauma, she said. Losing a child is one of the most devastating things a person can endure. And when the justice system failed you, when you felt powerless, you sought control in the only way that felt possible. I almost became a murderer, but you didn't. You made a choice, a hard choice, to step back from that edge. That takes incredible strength. It doesn't feel like strength. It feels like I failed Emma, like I let her killer get away with it. Marcus Chen hasn't gotten away with it. He lives with what he did every day. Whether he admits it or not, whether he feels remorse or not, he knows. And that's his burden to carry. But he's free. He's with his family. And you get to be free too. Free from the prison you would have built for yourself. Free to heal. Free to honor Emma's memory by living a life she would have been proud of. It was a nice thought, but it took months before I believed it. Sarah and I moved to Seattle permanently. We couldn't go back to Portland. Too many memories. Too much pain. I got a job teaching English at a small private school. Sarah went back to nursing, but switched to hospice care. She said she wanted to help people at the end of their lives, make their final days peaceful. We saw our therapists religiously, took our medications, went to a grief support group for parents who'd lost children. It was hard. God, it was hard. There were days I still thought about that night, about the gun, about how different my life would be if I'd made a different choice. But I chose Sarah, and she chose me. And slowly, painfully, we learned to live. 14 months after that night in Marcus Chen's backyard, I got a call from Detective Mills, the detective who'd worked Emma's case. "Mr. Morrison? I need to tell you something. You might want to sit down." My heart stopped. "Did you find new evidence? Can you reopen the case?" "In a way. Mr. Morrison, Marcus Chen is dead." The world tilted. "What?" "He died 3 days ago. Accident. Hit a tree on Highway 26. Drunk driving. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. Just emptiness." "There's more," Detective Mills continued. When they processed the accident scene, they found a journal in his car. He'd been seeing a therapist, apparently, keeping a journal as part of his treatment. Treatment for what? Guilt. Mr. Morrison, he confessed in the journal, in detail, what he did to Emma, how he'd followed her, how he'd convinced himself he just wanted to talk to her. But then she fought back, and he panicked. I couldn't breathe. He wrote that he couldn't live with it anymore, that every time he looked at his own daughter, he saw Emma, that he'd been drinking more, sleeping less, falling apart. The therapist had recommended he turn himself in, but he was too afraid of prison, of losing his family. So he just, lived with it. Until 3 days ago. The accident investigator thinks he drove into that tree on purpose, Mr. Morrison. The skid marks, the angle of impact, it looks like suicide. I hung up the phone and told Sarah. We held each other and cried. Not tears of joy, not relief, just grief. Fresh, raw grief that we thought we'd learned to carry, but turned out we'd just been stuffing down. That night, I dreamed about Emma. We were in our kitchen. She was doing homework at the table, arguing with me about Shakespeare again. You were right, Dad, she said, looking up at me. About that night. What night, sweetie? The night you almost killed him. You made the right choice. But he got away with it. No, she shook her head. He didn't get away with anything. He lived in his own prison. Fear, guilt, self-hatred. That's worse than any cell you could have put him in. But justice isn't always what we think it is. You think killing him would have been justice? All it would have done is create more victims. His kids would have lost their dad. His wife would have lost her husband. You would have lost yourself. And Mom would have lost you. I wanted to make him pay. And he did pay. Every single day. With every breath he took knowing what he'd done. She stood up, walked over to me. But you, Dad, you get to keep living. You get to heal. You get to remember me and honor me and maybe eventually forgive yourself for not protecting me. I should have been there. I should have picked you up. You couldn't have known. And Dad, she hugged me. I am okay. Wherever I am, I'm okay. And I need you to be okay, too. I woke up sobbing. Sarah held me until the sun came up. 2 years after that night in the backyard. Sarah and I sat in our therapist's office for our regular check-in. How are you both doing? Dr. Martinez asked. Sarah answered first. Better. Not good, not fixed, but better. I went a whole week without crying last month. That's progress. I started painting again, Sarah continued. Nothing serious. Just watercolors. Of Emma. Of memories. It helps. Dr. Martinez looked at me. David, I'm writing, I said. About Emma. About that night. About everything. I don't know if I'll ever show it to anyone, but it helps. Getting it out. And the anger? The desire for revenge. I thought about it honestly. It's still there sometimes. But it's quieter now. More like background noise instead of a siren. That's significant growth. Sarah reached for my hand. We're trying for another baby. Dr. Martinez smiled. How do you feel about that? Terrified, I admitted. Guilty. Like we're trying to replace Emma. You're not replacing her, Dr. Martinez said gently. You're making room for new life alongside your memory of her. That's healthy. I keep thinking, what if something happens? What if you let fear stop you from living? Sarah interrupted. Emma wouldn't want that. She'd want us to live fully, to love fully, to take risks. She was right. Emma had never been afraid, never held back. Okay, I said. Okay, let's try. 3 months later, Sarah showed me a positive pregnancy test. We cried. Happy tears mixed with grief. Joy mixed with fear. We're going to be okay, Sarah whispered. All of us. Even Emma. We're all going to be okay. And for the first time in 3 years, I believed it. 5 years after that night, I stand in my backyard in Seattle, watching my 3-year-old son, James, play in a sandbox. Sarah is pregnant again, a girl this time. We're naming her Grace. James doesn't know about Emma yet. He's too young. But someday, we'll tell him about his big sister. About her kindness. Her dreams. Her poetry. We'll tell him she's the reason we fight so hard to choose life every single day. I think about that night often. About standing in Marcus Chen's backyard with a gun in my hand. About being 10 minutes away from destroying my life. Sarah's life. James's future existence. 10 minutes. One phone call. One choice. People ask me sometimes, other grieving parents, other people who've lost everything, they ask me how I survived. How Sarah and I made it when so many marriages don't. And I tell them the truth. We almost didn't. We came so close to losing ourselves completely, to letting grief and rage consume us. But we chose differently. Not because we're strong, not because we're special, but because in our darkest moment, we chose each other. We chose life. We chose to believe that even in the depths of unbearable pain, there was still something worth living for. Marcus Chen took my daughter, but he didn't get to take me too. I took myself back. James calls out to me, "Daddy, look, he's built a castle in the sandbox. It's lopsided and falling apart, but his face is lit up with pride. It's beautiful, buddy," I say, walking over. "What are you going to put in it?" "A princess, like the one in your stories." I told him a story last night about a brave princess who fought dragons and saved kingdoms. I didn't tell him I was thinking about Emma when I made her up. "That's perfect," I say, kneeling beside him. "Every castle needs a brave princess." Sarah comes out onto the porch, her hand on her belly. "Dinner's ready," she calls. "Come on, James. Let's eat." He takes my hand, and we walk inside together. Behind us, the sun sets over Seattle, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. And I think this is justice. Not revenge, not punishment, not making someone pay, but choosing to live, choosing to love, choosing to build something beautiful from the wreckage. I was 10 minutes away from prison that night, 10 minutes away from destroying everything. But I chose life instead. And every day since, I've had to keep choosing it. Some days are harder than others. Some days, the grief is so heavy I can barely breathe. Some days, I'm angry all over again that Emma isn't here to meet her little brother, that she'll never meet baby Grace. But I keep choosing, because Sarah needs me to, because James needs me to, because Grace will need me to, and because somewhere, wherever Emma is, I think she needs me to as well. The gun is gone now. I drove to the coast a year after that night and threw it into the ocean. Watched it sink into the depths where it couldn't hurt anyone ever again. I wish I could say I never think about that night, that I've moved on completely. But that would be a lie. I think about it every day. Not with regret, exactly, but with profound gratitude. Gratitude that Sarah called when she did. Gratitude that I answered. Gratitude that I chose her. Gratitude that I chose life. Chose hope over despair. I was 10 minutes away from prison. But more than that, I was 10 minutes away from losing my soul. And a phone call, one simple phone call, saved me. Not from Marcus Chen, from myself.